During a bustling summer day, dozens of beachgoers spotted unusual shimmering shapes floating near the shore. Curiosity turned to collective alarm as more shapes appeared, bobbing gently in the waves. Phones came out, pictures were snapped, and speculation ran wild amongst the sun-kissed crowd. When the truth behind these mysterious objects became clear, the mood on the beach shifted dramatically. But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. "Daddy, look! What is that?" a little boy named Carson yelled as he shook his father's shoulder. When Robert finally saw those things in the water, his eyes widened. He had never seen something like that before. He quickly got up and looked around, searching for Katrina, his daughter. He had no idea what was going on, but he thought it was better to be safe than sorry. "Cat, get away from there!" Katrina didn't listen to him, though. She stepped into the water, stretching out her hand to touch one of the objects that had appeared. As she pulled her hand back again, she let out a blood-curdling scream that drew all eyes on her. Robert sprinted toward Katrina, and he already stood next to her only seconds later. "Are you all right? What happened?" he asked, but his daughter was crying too hard to speak, and the tears were streaming down her cheeks. Robert then took her hand to take a closer look at it, and he gasped when he saw it. "Oh no!" he exclaimed. It was completely black, just like those things that were floating in the sea. Robert got on his knees and submerged Katrina's hand in the water, and he rubbed it, trying to wash the black stuff, whatever it was, off. A crowd had gathered around them, but no one offered to help them. Suddenly, they heard another hysterical scream. As all eyes turned in the direction of the scream, they saw another little boy standing in the shallow water, staring at his hand. Everyone started running around and yelling at each other. Most people quickly packed their stuff and left. A few minutes later, most of the beachgoers had left, and only some of them remained at the beach. Robert had instructed his kids to not get closer to the water anymore just in case while he went to take a closer look. He didn't understand why everyone was panicking so much. Yes, Katrina had touched one of the things, and yes, she was frightened, but she was fine. Another man approached him and he said, "In my whole life, I've never seen anything like this. Have you?" "No, never," Robert replied, shaking his head. "It's bizarre." "You think it's dangerous?" he asked, glancing at Katrina's blackened hand. Robert sighed. "I don't know. It's not hurting her, but it's freaky." As Robert and the man continued to talk, a few other curious beachgoers wandered over and asked, "What do you think those are?" Another man, holding a camera, snapped a few pictures and said, "Could be pollution? Or some weird sea creatures," the woman added. A teenager chimed in, "Maybe it's from a shipwreck or something." Robert listened, weighing each theory. "Whatever it is, it's definitely not normal," he said. They continued to brainstorm. The beach patrol showed up quickly, their vehicles skidding to a halt on the sand. Officers jumped out, setting up barriers with practiced speed. "Everyone needs to leave now," an officer barked through a megaphone. "This area is off limits." Just as the last few beachgoers were leaving, local news teams arrived, cameras and microphones at the ready. "What's happening here?" the reporter started, but the officer cut them off. "You need to leave now," he insisted. The news teams, though persistent, were turned away, left to film from a distance, capturing the growing mystery. Despite the protests, the beach was cleared with surprising efficiency. The officers maintained a strict perimeter, ensuring no one lingered. When Robert and the kids got home, Lucy was pacing by the front door. "What happened? Are you okay?" she asked, rushing to hug them. Robert nodded, reassuring her. "We're fine, but it was crazy." Lucy noticed the blackened spot on Katrina's hand and looked concerned. Robert guided them inside, promising to explain everything. At the kitchen table, Robert recounted the chaotic events. He described the strange shapes in the water, the evacuation, and the lack of information from authorities. Lucy listened intently, her worry growing. Examining Katrina's hand, Lucy sighed with relief when she found no lasting harm. "Does it hurt?" she asked. Katrina shook her head. "No, Mommy, it's fine now." Lucy felt calmer, but agreed with Robert's suggestion to keep an eye on it. As the family settled in, Lucy helped the kids wash off the day's grime. The kids chattered about the strange events, their excitement still evident. Robert leaned against the doorway, relieved that the day's chaos was behind them. Over a quiet dinner, the tension eased, replaced by the warmth of family time. Later that night, Robert searched online for any news about the beach incident but found nothing. Frustration grew as he scrolled through endless pages, with no mention of the evacuation or strange objects. How can something so big not be covered? He muttered, determined to uncover the truth. The next day, Robert decided to revisit the beach. "I need to see if anything's changed," he told Lucy, who reluctantly agreed, but warned him to be careful. Arriving at the beach, he was greeted by new restricted area signs. Ignoring the warnings, Robert crossed the barriers, driven by curiosity. The beach was eerily quiet, and the mysterious objects were gone. The usual sounds of life were replaced by unsettling silence. Walking along the shore, Robert found no evidence of the previous day's chaos. Did I imagine it? He wondered, bewildered by the beach's pristine state. Determined, he meticulously inspected the area but found nothing unusual. The sand, water, and rocks showed no signs of disturbance. It was as if the incident had been erased. His search was interrupted when he noticed a lone figure on the horizon, standing still and watching the ocean. Robert's heart pounded as he decided to approach, hoping they might hold the answers he sought. As Robert approached the figure, it remained motionless, adding to the mystery. "Hello?" Robert called, trying to sound calm. The figure turned slightly, revealing a man who nodded when asked if he had seen the previous day's events. Hope surged in Robert. "Can you tell me about those objects?" he asked. The man's response was cryptic. "They come and go. This isn't the first time, and it won't be the last." Robert pressed for clarity, but the man only warned, "Be careful." Some things are best left alone, before walking away. Frustrated, Robert tried to stop him, but the man refused to elaborate. Watching him disappear into the distance, Robert stood by the sea, the cryptic encounter deepening the mystery. "They come and go," he repeated, trying to make sense of the words as he stared at the ocean, unease growing with each unanswered question. Back home, Robert continued his online search but found no information. His frustration mounted. Why is no one talking about this? He wondered. Days passed, and his curiosity became an obsession. The cryptic man's warnings and the unexplained events at the beach gnawed at him. Determined, Robert returned to the beach, hoping for new clues. To his surprise, he encountered the same man, now more willing to talk. "There's more to this than you think," the man said gravely, warning of an impending disaster. "You have no idea what's coming," he muttered. Despite Robert's insistence, the man revealed little, hinting at hidden truths and government secrets. "Why tell me this?" Robert asked. The man's intense gaze met his. "Because someone needs to know the truth." The man offered Robert a chance for answers. "You want the truth? Come with me," he urged. Though torn between doubt and curiosity, Robert agreed. As they drove in silence, Robert's mind raced. "What am I walking into?" he wondered. After a long, tense drive, they arrived at a secluded area surrounded by dense forest. The man gestured for Robert to follow, ignoring his questions. Warning signs reading "No Trespassing" and "Restricted Area" lined the path. Despite his growing apprehension, Robert pressed on, his curiosity outweighing his fear. "Where are we?" Robert asked. The man's cryptic response only heightened the tension. "We're almost there." The path narrowed, the forest grew thicker, and the silence became oppressive. Finally, the man revealed his identity. "I'm with EcoGuard," he said, catching Robert off guard. Explaining further, the man described how a powerful company was illegally dumping toxic waste and harming marine life. "The black residue and objects you saw are proof," he said, determination in his voice. Robert's confusion shifted to alarm. "Why hasn't anyone stopped them?" he asked. The man sighed. "Corruption runs deep. We need undeniable evidence." Robert felt a growing sense of urgency. "What's next?" he asked. "Follow me," the man replied. They reached a hidden spot where the man activated a device, revealing a live camera feed on a screen. Robert froze as the footage showed an expanse of heavily polluted water, black and lifeless. The contrast to the pristine beach he once knew was staggering. "This is worse than I imagined," Robert muttered. The man nodded grimly. "Those tar balls in the sea? They're from illicit oil extraction, meant to be hidden, but leaked by mistake." The revelation filled Robert with anger and resolve. "We need to expose this," he said firmly. The man smiled slightly. "That's why I brought you here." Armed with irrefutable evidence, Robert and the man approached the media and authorities. The footage shocked reporters, sparking widespread outrage. "We need to broadcast this immediately," one journalist exclaimed. Social media erupted with anger as people demanded accountability. Public protests gained momentum, forcing authorities to act swiftly. "An investigation is already underway," a government official announced. The oil company faced massive legal repercussions. Executives were arrested, fines were imposed, and public pressure mounted. "This is just the beginning," a prosecutor declared on live TV. Watching the news, Robert felt a surge of pride and relief. "We did it," he said to the man. "We're making a difference." The story concluded with the community restoring the beach, symbolizing hope and renewal. "We did it," Robert said, standing on the now clean shore. The man nodded, smiling. "This is what happens when people come together," he said. The community celebrated their success, planting new trees and organizing beach events. Robert watched his kids play in the sand, feeling proud. "Let me know if it captures the right balance or if further refinements are needed." Months later, the once polluted beach had become a symbol of hope and resilience. Families strolled along the clean shoreline, and children laughed as they built sandcastles where tar balls once washed ashore. The community's efforts had turned despair into action, proving that unity could overcome even the most daunting challenges. Robert stood by the water's edge, reflecting on how far they had come. The man from EcoGuard approached, a rare smile on his face. "This isn't just a victory for us," he said. "It's a statement to the world. Change is possible." Robert nodded, pride swelling in his chest. "And it all started with a decision to act," he replied. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with vibrant hues, Robert watched his children run through the surf, carefree and full of joy. For the first time in years, the beach wasn't just a place, it was a legacy. Together, they had proven that even the smallest steps could lead to monumental change, and the fight for a cleaner, safer world was only beginning.